Hi there, this video is all about blogging for charities. Now if you're not familiar with a blog, it's derived from the term weblog. So it's basically an online journal, a series of posts written on behalf of a particular charity, organisation. Maybe it's about your hobbies, interests, whatever it may be. Now blogging is an exceptionally powerful marketing tool, and it's one that's increasingly being used by all sorts of different organisations. However, having said that, despite the fact that it is immensely powerful, and it's actually the thing that we generally encourage people to do first when they're initially beginning their social media activity. Despite all that, it's sometimes, well, actually, all too often, it's the thing that people want to do the least. I think maybe the reasons could be, they think they wouldn't be any good at it, or they don't have the time, or they're concerned that it's going to take too long before they see a return. Now, these are all valid concerns. I mean, taking that last point, for example, whereas it might take 3 to 6 months to get a real sense of return via blogging, within a matter of weeks you can get this sense on Twitter that you're already developing some sort of community. So I can understand those concerns, but ultimately you're going to get so much more out of all those other platforms if you do begin with a blog. So we're just going to run through a few of the key benefits. It might also just be worth pointing out, as these this lovely bit of artwork depicts here, you don't need to necessarily blog on your own. You can blog as part of a community, and that is actually particularly common amongst the sort of charitable sector. So anyway, just running through a few of the specific benefits of blogging. First of all, SEO. Now you might not be familiar with the term SEO. It stands for search engine optimization. So this is all about generating traffic to your website from the search engines. So as I'm sure you can imagine, this is a really important sort of component of your overall marketing strategy when you're looking to increase your website exposure. Now the reason why a blog is so powerful for this is, if you imagine that in order for Google or Yahoo, Bing, whoever it is, in order for them to find your website and actually return it in the results, they need to find particular terms or keywords within that content that's relevant to what people are searching for. So this means that the more content you have, particularly when it's fresh and really high quality, the more content you have, the more likely it is that you're going to be picked up in those results. Also as well, there's another benefit here known as link baiting. You're giving people basically a reason to link to your website because you've got really sort of high quality, interesting stuff going on. And again, this is really powerful from an SEO point of view. If you want to learn more about SEO, then obviously you can check out our SEO section on the website. Secondly, it gives a really fresh sort of dynamic feel to the website. So particularly if you can incorporate other social media platforms with your website as well, it just makes it a much more interesting experience for the user. Then you've got the expertise that you gain from blogging. Now this is quite difficult to explain. Generally it's only those people who have been blogging for quite a long time that fully appreciate this. But if you imagine that, once or twice a week, maybe even just once a fortnight, you're putting pen to paper and trying to write something that you believe is going to be fit for public consumption, you're happy to broadcast it to the world. Actually, you can probably imagine that really forces you to think what's going to be interesting, what are people going to enjoy reading, and inevitably it makes you much more of an expert in your field, and over time you'll actually be considered something of an authority within that field. So if you stick with it for long enough, that is one of the major benefits that you'll almost certainly find. And then finally, it just gives you really interesting information to push via your other platforms. So it gives you something interesting to tweet about. It gives you something interesting to link to from LinkedIn or via your fan page on Facebook, whatever it may be. Now, in terms of actually making this stuff happen, because obviously that's what it's ultimately all about, what we'd always recommend, although I'm sure other people would beg to differ, is that you start with WordPress. So this is a very simple blogging platform that you can actually incorporate into your website, which, as we've said, is really important for the search engines. I think there's a funky little WordPress design down there in the corner. So if you check out WordPress, there's more information about WordPress on our website. That's a brilliant place to begin. And in fact, I believe there's a link under the video that will walk you through how to set up, how to install WordPress and get your blog going. Also as well, I believe there's a link to an HTML page. Now, don't worry, you don't need to be too technical to do this stuff. but just by getting to grips with the absolute basics of HTML, it'll allow you to incorporate video, images, to just format your sentences a little bit more sort of in a slightly more interesting way, just making it a much more pleasant user experience. So it's easier than you would imagine. It's well worth spending 20 minutes or so just getting to grips with the absolute basics. And then finally, just a few techniques when you actually make a start on your blog. So there's kind of two aspects to this. You want to blog with the user in mind. You also want to blog with the search engines in mind. Now, from a user point of view, you want to make it a really interesting experience. You want to really sort of give life to it. You want to add as much colour and personality as you can. If you look at any of our blogs, you'll see that we've really tried to take that to the extreme, and that's really, really important. So you want to try and identify the personality of your charity and then capture it within the blog. However, there is actually just another point to add to that. In terms of making it a really good user experience, you want to sort of break it down into very sort of digestible chunks as well. You probably don't want to write more than about 4, max 500 words, and then break it up with images as much as you can. Also embedding video again, and if you do read the HTML page, it'll walk you through how to do all that stuff. Now, looking at it from the other angle, from the search engine point of view, which is obviously very important, because if you don't take that into account, you're much less likely to get found by these people in the first place. Looking at it from an SEO point of view, what you want to be mindful of is the kind of keywords, the kind of things that people are going to be typing into the search engines that will then allow you to get picked up. So if you can think of what people are likely to be searching for, and it might be a particular topic that's really hot that day. If you can think of that and write a blog post with that in the title, it's much more likely to appear at the top of the results and therefore generate traffic. And it might only be 4 or 5 users per blog post, but if you're doing that every week, if you imagine 2-3 years down the line, you're probably talking about hundreds, maybe thousands of additional users every single month. So it can be really powerful stuff. So anyway, I hope you took some benefit from that. Of course, if you have any more questions, please contact me on my blog, and I'll be very happy to help. Okay, cheers.